Have you figured out whether stuff is moral already? And did you find the purpose? Who are you working for? Through these small discussions, you found the solutions. Now, my job here is to lay out the overview of the whole series and all the terrains, all the thinkings. So we will not enter into details of any one of them, but just to map out and to stimulate. And technology, at the end of the day, is something so multidimensional, so rich as a resources for Christian and contemporary reflection. Okay? And you can raise your hand if you want to me to expand a little bit here and there. Now, at the tradition of Leonardo da Vinci, we have a different handshake, not from God and Adam, but somehow, have you seen the movie Ghost in the Shell? It's a hybrid, human and machine. Now, I want to go through this with you. You tell me. You can raise your hand, all right? Common views of technology. First, we can always use technology for a purpose. And maybe for a good purpose, then we can use any kind of technology. If you agree, raise up your hand. We can always use technology, especially for good purpose. What do you think? Yes or no? Yes, raise up your hand. Yeah, it's good. Okay, that's good. Good, it's right. Don't be complicated. Now, many emergent technology, some are very optimistic, some are very pessimistic, right? And the invention of automobile, people say, oh, this is a shitless horse. Has no future, so slow, And then at the invention of radio, some are very optimistic. Wow, that will be the end of illiteracy. People can learn. You have open university. Through the airwave, everybody can be educated. Right? Now, can I ask you, is technology neutral? Raise up your hand. You think technology is neutral? Depends on how you use it. Raise up your hand. Good, very good. Okay, so we have difference. Now, there are good and bad use of technology, right? Raise up your hand. You agree? Okay, good. Technology has no life of its own. It's all human that makes the trouble. Technology is, in fact, have no life of its own. Okay, very good. Now we're in good workshop spirit. Now, there are some common applications of technology. Some common applications. Remember Bill Gates wrote a book, something called Information on Education, the blink of time. People still today, some educators think information is education, right? So the future of the university is the smartphone because you have Google and YouTube, right? Right? Do you agree? No, nobody agrees. You're still teaching at a university. Anyway, and ranking. Have you thought about that? Ranking of universities. How can you publish a paper every year on Shakespeare? Very difficult. Hong Lao Mong. Very difficult. But you can publish a paper every day in new technology, nano, genetics, So technology ranks over, and all the MIT, Caltech, all the technological-based universities got high ranking. Have you thought about that? And then we use religion. Our Choi Song was talking with me over the break that people use worship PowerPoints. Is the spirituality the same? Does it shape a different kind of spirituality? PowerPoint singing and PowerPoint worship? Bonhoeffer think differently. Bonhoeffer said, in worship, if you sit next to the other and shake hands, just being present is therapeutic. And Martin Buber Talk about storytelling. That a guy was telling a story every time. Different. It's a creation. Also, there was a guy who is handicapped. 残疾, how do you say? Paralyzed. And then he was listening to a story. The story was so moving, and he was so excited. He jumped up and forgot about his paralysis. So storytelling in life encounter have miracles, different from mediated. You agree? It's fascinating, right? Church, common technology, media training, genetic counseling. Do you agree that we should counsel the unborn child's parents how to change the genetics of the baby or the fetus? Do you agree? No. But it's practicing genetic counseling. Okay, missions. In the old times, the missionary used the hand cranked cassette tape. Have you used those hand crank? For mission technology. Mobile phones, okay, and the urban planning, bridges and high-speed trains, and China, in the one belt, one road technology. So this all common. Because when we think about technology, we tend to use it, application, functional, instead of taking it back and come to Jordan Saturday morning. What is this thing called technology? Should we redeem it? So we are rare breed. Most people go out and use it, newest, most advanced, use it, right? Okay, let's take it back. Plato has told a story of an inventor, Thales, dedicated to Thales the king. Every invention. At one time, he brought one. He thinks this invention is very spectacular, the best. It's called writing. Invention of writing. And then the king Thales was frowned. He said, oh, then people will have no memory. They have just recollections. And there's no personal memory because it's all externalized records of history. People do not think, do not recall, no community, just something outside. And this thing, writing, is going to harm us. Now, Dr. Yam Ji-kyung is a filmmaker. In 1927, we have the synchronized sound movie. Before that, all the movies have no sound. So you just play the soundtrack later, the music. And the camera was fluid and very aesthetical, very artistic. But after the invention of synchronized sound with the dialogue, the camera was static, motionless, trying to capture the people's voice. So the advancement of technology retards a medium, retards the art form. Have you ever thought about that? When we were young, we see cartoons, the people flying up and down, Mickey Mouse. And then now we have 3D animations because it takes so much time to process the animation. All the characters are motionless, just talking, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you guys are either too young or too old. I saw the 3D animations of my grandchild all the time. Anyway, so Photoshop. After the invention of Photoshop, we have no wonder for any photography anymore, photograph anymore, right? You have one rainbow, two rainbows, three rainbows. Wow, no, it's Photoshopped. Do you know what France has done today? Every Photoshopped pictures in advertisement, you have to claim it. You have to put a claim. This picture is Photoshopped. It's legally. They just passed a law. Do you know? Anyway, change reality. The A-bomb. The day after the A-bomb, all the scientists of the bomb got together. They declare, Virginia report, we did not know the consequence of our invention, but we invented it. We thought it's for good use. Anyway, so that is what we are doing. We gain or lose an invention. Thus, the form dictates the content. We create certain tools. Will the using of the tools recondition us? We try to use voice, language. Will the using of language and voice condition our thinking? You see, we create something for our use. And that thing, after repeated use, shape our consciousness. Okay? Marshall McLuhan says, the form is the content. In Valentine's Day, 12 roses or 1 rose, which one has more love? Or if you dare to give carnation to your wife, you got into trouble. Because most people give carnations to mothers. The form is the message. And Alvin Toffler says, the speed of change will condition us. The speed of change. We call future shock. So not neutral, everything is conditioning. And then because of the change of the third wave, first wave is agricultural, second wave industrial, and third wave is information. And how can you change land? You cannot change land that often. Factories, you may change it, but it's still difficult. But information, you can change it every day, every hour. So the speed of change is so fast that the social landscape, the structure, the politics, everything is changed because of the media form. Not only our consciousness, society, the way we communicate. How many do not deliberately not using WhatsApp? Lauren. Are you French? Swiss, okay. Neutral. Now, there's a guy, Harold Innis, who started all. He says the media form, the technology shape our consciousness. The Roman Empire, because they use sheep, what they call sheep skins for manuscript, so they can deliver faster. But the Babylonians use the tabloid, clay tabloid. How can you move clay tabloid? So their kingdom is limited. You see, the technology limit a kingdom and a structure. And Walter Ong talked about orality, how it's different from literacy, from writing. And Elizabeth Eisenstein, whole life she spent on the printing press, how put a word into a line, into a fixed space, into a space-biased thing, as compared with sound and film and radio, which is a time-biased medium. Because when she was in grade 5, one teacher told her, language helps us to explain ourselves, but also language limits us to express and think about things. And she spent her whole life pondering on that, how language limits us, at the same time expanding us. Wilbur, I told you about this storytelling and so on. So today, all the universities have online education, global education, intensive face-to-face, We are, in a way, the church uses media, everybody uses media, without really critically examining what technology and media doing to us as humans. Okay, that's why we are here. The first reading we will be doing at the book report in 15-20 minutes later will be from this book, New Postman. And I have a scanned version for you, right? And also during the whole Redeeming Technology series, we try to use this book. It's good for pillow. Philosophy of Technology. It's an anthology. It's quite good. It has the historical and the current, and it's a gold mine, about 60 articles. It's heavy. Only $50. Is it $50? $40? Anyway, US. Not Swiss. Anyway, do try to read as many chapters as possible. And we try to have all the presenters choose 1 or 2 or 3 chapters for each session. How many have read the two that I specified on this book for today already? Wow. So we do have some. Okay, that's good. Okay, not bad. Okay, very good. Nevertheless, we'll talk a little bit more about this later in the book report. He's a very brilliant guy. Technology started as a tool. We use a tool, we make tools. And then the tools are initially incorporated by our culture. And later on, it changed our culture, and later on, it eradicated our culture. Okay, perish our culture. And it's called technocracy and technopoly. Interesting. You go to the MTR, right? Everybody's smartphone, technopoly. Anyway, in the logic. Woo! Very good. Technology, you see? Anyway, now, Jacques Ellul was Lauren's favorite, and actually I studied one course on philosophy of technology under a guy who's one of the founding members of the Jacques Ellul Society in America. He has written many books. His main point is that using the French word la technique, technique has a life of its own. Work for proficiency, work for efficiency, work for productivity, and it becomes a system. And to the end, it might maximize its effect to the extent it may marginalize human values. Okay, that is what. And here's the book called Humiliation of the Word. You think that we are living in a visual icon. Everything is visual, and that somehow the word is undermined. Anyway, and there's a guy called Parker Palmer who wrote a book called To Know as We Are Known, Education as Spiritual Journey. And then he talked about, is there a way to draw the line? Is what can be done ought to be done? If we are capable of doing this, should I do it? If I can kill my girlfriend, should I do it?
No.
But your wife. So he challenges the human capability without a moral compass. Jeremy Rifkin talked about the biotech century. He said that for the past 400 years, it's physical science dominating. For the next 100 years, it's all biological science. Biological science, biotech, biotechnology. Eugenics, Yao Sang, look at Hitler, trying to improve the human race. Euthanasia, transgenic species. Have you read a story about Pinocchio? With the nose and the tail and the ear, transgenic. What if we mix the genes of a mule with human? Then we have Pinocchio, right? Is it possible? Should we do it? What can be done should be done. Is it the frontier of science? Should there be limit? If we limit it, then we are not scientific. We are not promoting human knowledge. As if promoting human knowledge and advancement is the norm. And people frame it, most people, evolutionary advancement, using the vague term of Darwin. This is what we are facing. Gender. How come people are so much into genetics, airspace, computer, and very little focus on the gardening technology, kitchen technology, baby. Recently, there's a lady who invented some hot, warm pad to save thousands of newborn babies in India because they don't have electricity. And there are many of the babies died, and they invented a very warm pad that can cushion the baby. But most of the technological journals do not publish this kind of technology. So do we have a gender bias in technology? Ladies are more nurturing, communal, and guys are more conquest, excellence, precision. So there is a Fenber and others. And we have Monsma. We talk about responsible technology from the Calvin College Scholarship. Convivial tool, Ivan Illich. Now, some technologies are more alienating. Some technologies are more, we call convivial, communal building, celebrative. And he mentioned postal office. The postal office. Today we use WhatsApp. But postal office at one time was very innovative because only the rich can have letters. In Chinese, Dou Fu, one of the poets, who mentioned 家書抵萬金. In the old time, postal office only for the rich, but he says postal office. And also bicycling is convivial. I don't know about that in China now. Today, all the sharing of bicycles, right, seem to be going bankrupt because you need certain level of citizenship to take care of the bicycle instead of wasting here and there. Anyway, he mentioned that technology can be convivial, can be community building, celebrating. And then Colin Gunton, in a book called Christian Faith, he said, God created the world through co-creation, through media. The first thing God created was what? Before the planets. And God said, there shall be light. And there was light. So God used what to create light? Word. Spoken word. And then he used what to create Adam?
Clay.
Clay. The dust, right? That's clay, right? Okay, use what to create Eve? Rib. What about fruit? It's the trees. So God creates things through media, co-creation, participation, community. That's how God creates. So he mentioned about, and then co-creation is an ongoing process that will become what God intended us to do. So not God just did his creation and then stopped and Sabbath. No, he's continued creating and then co-creating with us. That is what he thought about, right? Redeeming culture. Now, goes in the shell. There are some utopian and dystopian visions. Ridley Scott, very famous director, who has produced the Aliens series. Recently, they have the Covenant. They have two cyborgs, right, fighting each other. Anyway, Blade Runner, cloned. If we cloned a human with a short lifespan, maybe 4 years, 6 years, how would we relate to clones? If you have memories and one day you found out yourself is a clone, and your memories are implanted, how would you react, Mike? You thought you married to Katie. That is what the science fiction. I think science fiction is always visionary, and then goes in the shell. And then the Friesland and Metropolis, Brazil, Her, Inception. They're all thinking about technology in a storytelling way. I think I encourage most teachers to see more science fiction and science fiction movie. Good for us. So at the end of the day, how can we redeem technology? What is at stake here, as Walter Brueggemann in his book called Prophetic Imagination, is two things. One, sovereignty of God. Second, human dignity. Whenever you face technology infringing human dignity or undermining the sovereignty of God, then we have to caution. Secondly, invention is designed for a purpose, like Mike was saying about the apartment design. In Taiwan, after the earthquake, some architectural students were asked to rebuild a village, and they interviewed all the villagers and write down the stories and how the grandma, sai hong zhou in the morning doing this and babysit, and then try to create an architecture that facilitate their life easier, better, and community. So that is design and regulations. In regulations, in inventions, in utilizations, we need all kinds of thinking, values into technology. And then the origin of technological inquiry on a philosophical level is Martin Heidegger. How do you say? Heidegger. He's a German, right? Very difficult to read. But anyway, he encouraged us to have a questioning spirit, questioning, to draw out and what is essential there. And then E.F. Schumacher talk about small is beautiful. That's partly Lumina College is trying to do. How can you have the smallest platform of higher education in the border of China and have the most influence, like a chemical reaction catalyst? E.F. Schumacher. Small is beautiful. He talks about appropriate technology, intermediate technology, and then the systematic abstinence. Try not to use your iPhone for 2 weeks. Abstinence. Anyway, and then respect for food culture. So those are some of the thinking that we can explore, and we cannot have time to enter into details. But I'll stop here and see whether you have any questions. And then we'll go to the book reports.